Hello and welcome to the St. Thomas Tommie Tuesday webinar series. We are really glad to have you here on what in St. Paul and Minneapolis is kind of a snowy afternoon. So it's nice to be in this warm Zoom room with you all. My name is Brian Gates. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions for First Year Recruitment. And today we're going to be talking about college preparation and what juniors can be doing this year. A few housekeeping rules, and then we'll go into some introductions. As an attendee, you're automatically muted on entry. This is to keep your audio clean and for everyone that's listening in. We encourage you to add questions through the Q&A function, which is at the bottom of your screen at any time. One of our team members will be monitoring those throughout the event. We also received, if you put questions in your registration when you signed up, we received those ahead of time, and we'll be trying to answer them throughout our presentation and also at the end of our time together today. As far as format, we will start with panel introductions so you can meet our little family we have here in purple for you today. And then we'll hear from each of our presenters, and we will save time for questions at the end. We'll do our best to get to as many questions as possible. A final note, we will be recording this webinar and we'll post it to our website in the upcoming days. So if you have to leave early, or if you want to reference something back, or if it was the best piece of television you've watched in a long time, you can just come back and watch it anytime. So with that being said, let's kick off introductions, and I'll ask Abby to start.
All right, thanks, Brian. What's up, everyone? My name is Abby Charanet. I'm a senior admissions counselor here at the University of St. Thomas. Been working in the admissions office for 4 years now. And before that, I was actually a student and a business major, graduated in 2016. Loved the education, loved working with all the professors, met a lot of my lifelong friends here. And as I kept getting more and more involved on campus, higher education seemed like a good route for me. So I took the job and been working ever since. And I work with students coming from Illinois mainly, the East Coast of the United States, and also Eagan and Eastview High School. So thank you so much for joining us.
Hi everyone, my name is Mariah Bertram. I'm also an admissions counselor here at St. Thomas. I've been a counselor for about 5 years, and I graduated from St. Thomas back in 2014. I double majored in communication and journalism and family studies, and I'm currently working on my master's in Catholic studies. While I was an undergrad, I was a very proud member of a very below average intramural beanbag team. So that's kind of my claim to fame. My parents were very proud of that, I'm very sure. But I work with all of the Catholic high schools in the Twin Cities. It's good to be with you all today.
Hi everyone, my name is Morgan Jensen. I am also a Tommie. I'm an admissions counselor. I've been here for 2 years, but I graduated from St. Thomas in 2018. I studied communications and journalism. I was hoping to be the next Katie Couric, but things kind of took a turn for me, and that's all right. And now I'm studying my master's, doing my MBA at St. Thomas. So super excited to have you all here.
Hi everyone, my name is Kyla and I'm a current Tommie. I'm a senior this year and I'm from Prior Lake, Shakopee area, Minnesota. It's like 30 minutes kind of southwest of here. And I'm really excited to chat with all of you today.
Hi everyone, I am Yubi Hassan. I'm a freshman this year and I'll be looking forward to your questions later.
All right, that is our team. And I think one of the most important things, if you don't remember every detail of our presentation today, is just remembering that there's a team of people at St. Thomas and throughout your college process, wherever it is, that are there to help you walk through it. One of the coolest parts about our jobs is people did this for us, and now we get to reciprocate that in the work that we do. So you're never applying to college alone. There's a whole team of people to help you. And we'll help you remember when deadlines and things like that are coming up. So let's dive in. And I'm going to just give a broad overview of how a student starts building their application, and some of the really broad things that we are looking at when we're considering our review. So first, there's kind of two main things that you hear a lot about college applications. One is about holistic review and what that really means. Obviously, it means we're looking at the whole student. So we don't just say, this is a student's GPA, this is their standardized test score, they're either in or out. It's not just a grid that admits a student. We do look at your student's transcript, and we'll talk about that in more detail. We do look at test scores if students choose to submit them. We look at how a student is involved, their essays, their letter of recommendation, their narrative. I think the main thing we'd want you to know about your application and what you're doing right now, and if you have enough, is if you're here in this session right now, if you are thinking about the college process, you're on track. If you are here, if you are considering what your next step is in the college process, as a junior in this phase, you're exactly where you need to be. So we want to assure you of that. When we're looking at your junior year and what you've done, we're trying to look for all the positives. We have a lot of layers of review. We have multiple people looking at your application to make sure we're finding everything we can that shows your readiness for college. We'll look at academic preparedness, educational experience, and your narrative. That means your story. What brought you to the point to wanting to pursue college? And then we also look at your potential contributions to the community. Whatever you're doing in high school, our hope is that's an example of what you're going to continue in college. Each part of your application is important, and you can start thinking about what some of these items you might want to highlight are right now. The next part I want to mention is just how we go about reviewing a college application when we look at it. There's two pieces. There are required documents, and then there's optional ones. We do obviously require you to fill out the application, and we require from every student a high school transcript. Optional pieces are standardized test score, which means ACT or SAT, letters of recommendation, and essays. Optional pieces are always great. They help add to your narrative, add to your readiness, add to your preparation, but they are not required. I specifically want to mention one note about the test score being optional. That's new for us. This is the first fall we've had students applying to St. Thomas without a standardized test. There's a few reasons we're doing that. One is because of equity. We know that there is an inherent bias in test scores. A student's test score and how they perform on a standardized test is more likely correlated to their family's income level than it is their ability to perform in college. We know for some students who perform really well on the test, that's a great piece to add to their application, but not for everyone. We know it doesn't tell the story for everyone. So it's an option when students apply. Right now, our class is about 50-50. About half the applications are without a test, about half are with, and it doesn't impact financial aid or the admissions process, whichever you choose. We know it's not always representative of your ability. Our goal is not to prevent any students from applying. We want more access to higher education. If you ever have a question about how you should apply, talk to your admissions counselor. We've been practicing. We practiced throughout the week about how to advise students on whether or not they should apply with a test or without. And so all the people you're going to meet through this are there to advise you through this whole process. To get into a little more detail about the college application process, specifically as it relates to tests and transcripts, Abby's going to take over now.
All right. Thanks, Brian. So now we're kind of going to dive deeper into the different pieces of the application. So we're going to start with the transcript review. So obviously, you're in high school to do well in school. You don't want to slack off. You want to make sure you're doing well in all your classes. And it's important you get into those good habits right away. Because sometimes, like we all know that high school can be an adjustment for everyone. But if things get hard the first couple of years, it could be hard to get your grades up to a certain point that colleges like to see once your junior year rolls around. So especially kind of leaving with this knowledge that junior year is the most important for you. Um, Hopefully, that kind of helps. So junior year is super important. You definitely don't want to slack off junior year, because a lot of the times colleges won't even see your first semester senior year grades, because our early action deadline is November 1st, and we'll only have up to your junior year. So make sure to make your junior year the strongest. We do like to see grades that are trending up, and make sure to take courses that challenge you. um and that's kind of another topic to talk about. Like, you don't want to just do all AP classes just because, right? Like, make sure you're taking classes that that you can get A's and B's in. So if that includes AP classes, cool. If it doesn't include AP classes, no worries. The main thing is you just want to make sure that you can have the strongest transcript possible, for you. And on top of all that, it's good to start getting into good habits, especially as you um, get closer to high school ending. So what that means is utilize your high school resources. Like, if you know that you're having trouble in certain classes, utilize whatever tutors you have at your high school. Utilize your teachers. They're all there to help. They all want to see you succeed. So you kind of got to advocate for yourself in that way, so you can bring the strongest transcript possible for whichever college that you apply for. Because not only is it important to have a strong transcript and strong GPA for applying to colleges, but it also gets put into scholarship consideration for when you're applying for different scholarships. So the main takeaways of this slide, really just make sure you're doing your best in whichever courses you're taking, and utilize, teachers and tutors if you have any trouble this junior year. Now, moving forward to standardized test scores, definitely do your research. Do your research on each college that you're applying to, whether they require the ACT or the SAT, or if they don't require it, and start making a plan early. Now, as you all know, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, so a lot of the seniors this year, they had all their tests, ACTs and SATs canceled. And they were trying to take these tests since last March. So March tests were getting canceled, April, even up to September, right? So it's important, especially in the time that we're in now, to really plan ahead. If you are the student that wants to take the standardized test score, make sure to plan ahead. Spring of your junior year is usually a good time, so start reserving your spot now if registration is open. Um, and just make sure that you're looking at all the different requirements for the schools that you're applying to. So in the case of St. Thomas, we're a test optional school, like Brian was saying. And you may be wondering, well, how do I know if I want to apply test optional? So if you're looking at the middle 50% of students coming into St. Thomas, the middle 50% typically has between a 3.4 and a 3.9 GPA, and a 24 to 29 on the ACT. So what I've been telling students is, if your GPA, falls within that middle 50, and maybe you feel like you won't be able to score a 24 on the ACT, feel free to apply test optional. The whole point, like Brian was saying, is to just provide more access for students. So even if you apply test optional, we're not gonna look at you any different way. Like, it's not gonna negatively affect your application. So hopefully that information, kind of helps. And if you have any further questions about ACT, SAT, whether or not you should take it, our office is always willing to help when it comes to that. So moving forward to high school involvement. So obviously, like I said earlier, you're in high school to do well in school. Grades and academics should be the number one priority. But something else that's also very important is, what are you doing to complement your education? And that's where extracurriculars, come into play. Obviously it's important to find out what you're passionate about in the classroom, but also take some time to to find out what you're passionate about outside of the classroom. So just like as an example, for me, I grew up loving music. I played piano all my life. I decided to join the high school band, marching band. So I was playing percussion, bass drum, like in the movie Drumline. And it was just fun. It was a fun way for me to, not only worry about academics, but also have my extracurriculars. So feel free to take some time to really think about, like, what do you like to do outside of school, whether it's sports, whether it's the band, whether it's being involved in your community or your church, whether it's doing student council. The opportunities are truly endless. So definitely take that time to do that, because we like to see well-rounded students apply to St. Thomas, and a lot of other schools like to see well-rounded students too. And if you take the time to really get involved in different extracurriculars when you're in high school, that's going to get you in the right mindset for once you get to college. Because once you get to college, getting involved in all these different student clubs and organizations is really the number one way to meet new people, and especially meet new people that have similar interests and similar passions as you. And that's really how you build sustainable friendships. So take the time, like, have fun in high school, like whatever it is that you like to do outside of the classroom, definitely take that time to do that. And that also includes any part-time work, whether you work at the local restaurant. Like I worked at Dairy Queen, in high school. So I was the person making the cones with the signature swirl and everything. So it was just a, fun thing for me to kind of get involved outside of the classroom. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some action items that I want you to kind of leave here with today. So like we said, finish junior year strong. Maybe even act like this is your last year in high school. You want to finish on a good note. I'm not saying senior slide your senior year, but just finish junior year strong. Secondly, make a plan for test prep and taking a standardized test. So on this bullet point, just like have your short list of colleges that you're interested in, look up the different requirements. If it's test optional, put them in one bucket. If they require a test, put them in another bucket. And then you can kind of decide for yourself, which ones you want to apply to. And then lastly, brainstorm the strengths that you bring to a college or university. So you're all special, we got to remember that, we all bring strengths to the table. Whether we're personable people, or whether we're more analytical people, or whether we play the violin or whatever, don't lose sight of that. So on your college application, really brag about everything that you've done. Brag about everything that you've done in high school, all the different ways that you've impacted your community, you've impacted your school, and really tell us who you are as a student more than just your numbers. So I will be handing it off now to Mariah.
Thanks, Abby. Hello again, everyone. Nice to see you. Now we're going to pivot and talk about how you all can build relationships during your junior year. Deciding where you want to go to college is a really fun and it's a really exciting decision. And it's also kind of overwhelming to be at the very beginning of the process, especially if you're the first kid in your family to go to college. So know that you are not alone in this. You've got a whole team of people in your personal life and at all the colleges that you're considering who really want you to succeed and who are cheering you on throughout the rest of your junior year and senior year. So in the next slide, we'll kind of get started on some of the advice that we have for you all. The first is to maintain the relationships that already exist in your life. And if they don't exist, kind of use junior year to invest in some of those. I recommend being very intentional with staying connected with your counselors and your teachers. And that I know is much easier said than done in our current environment when a lot of you are doing fully distance learning, when a lot of you are hybrid, a lot of those meetings with teachers and counselors just don't happen organically anymore. So I encourage you to maybe do some 10, 15-minute check-ins with your counselors or teachers throughout the rest of your junior year, just to touch base. The more that they get to know you, what you're passionate about, what you're really interested in, the more they'll be able to advise you, and the better they'll be able to advise you throughout the college decision process, because they'll know you, they'll know what you're excited about, and they'll be able to make some really good recommendations about schools that might be a great fit for you. Another piece of advice is to start thinking about some different people that you might want to ask to write letters of recommendation for you. As we're reviewing applications, we typically see students submit anywhere from 1 to 3 letters of recommendation. You'll want to think about people who can speak to your academic readiness for college, speak to your leadership skills inside and outside of the classroom, speak to your character, your heart for others, any service that you've done, just adults in your life who know you really well and can be a great advocate for you. So start thinking about those people in your life who you might like to ask. And once you decide on them, I would recommend asking them on the earlier end, definitely before summer, because I know a lot of teachers and a lot of counselors get a lot of asks from students to write those letters. So the more time that you give someone in your life who's going to recommend you, the more time you give them to recommend you, the more thoughtful of a letter they'll be able to write for you. All right, another piece of advice is to just utilize all of the resources that are at your fingertips right now as a junior. You all have a ton of them. One of your biggest resources throughout the remainder of your college decision process is going to be your admissions counselors. At any school that you're considering enrolling at in the future, you're going to have an admissions team. And it's their job to be a resource for you and your family throughout your college decision process. So any questions, concerns, anything, you can always go to your admissions counselor as a first point of contact. As an admissions counselor, it's my job to be a resource for you and to help you figure out if St. Thomas is a good fit for you or not. It's not my job to make you enroll at St. Thomas, even though I would love for you to join us. So please feel so welcome to call, email, text our team at St. Thomas a billion times a day if you'd like to, because we would be so thrilled to help you and your family. And as admissions counselors, I like to note that it's not our job to make a final decision on if a student is accepted to St. Thomas or not. It's our primary job to be an advocate for students throughout the application process and throughout the scholarship and financial aid process. So we would love it if you would reach out to us either via phone or email or set up a campus visit so we can meet you in person and put a person to a name in our system. Number 2, don't be afraid to ask for help throughout the college process, but especially in high school as well. And Abby had talked a little bit about this too. I remember when I was in your shoes a whole bunch of years ago, I felt so silly asking for help in high school. And I wish I could go back a couple of those times and put aside my pride and ask for help, because your grades really matter in the application process, in the financial aid and scholarship process. So if you feel yourself slipping in class, or if a math class is ending up being super tough for you, or history class or whatever, stay after school a little bit, talk to your teacher one-on-one. Yeah, just ask for help. It'll help you develop some advocacy skills as a high school student, so you can be a really good advocate for yourself in college as well. And then number 3, start thinking about your network. Like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, you've got a whole team of people in your personal life and at the colleges that you're thinking of who are cheering for you and want to encourage you. So that might be teachers, admissions counselors, high school counselors, parents and guardians, older siblings, friends, older siblings, anything like that. Just kind of rack your brain. There might be some people in your life who have already gone to college and gone through the college application process. So I encourage you to rack their brains too and see if there's any advice that they would recommend you as you're just kind of starting your college decision process. And then just one final tip for you all. Some of you may be sitting here as 16, 17-year-olds and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm just trying to think about college. I'm not quite ready to decide on a career yet. And there is no pressure to do so. But junior year is an excellent time just to kind of start thinking about different career paths that might be of interest to you. So I encourage you all to keep an eye out for different networking opportunities within your high school. Maybe there's a club that you're involved in and you're going to have a guest speaker at your club who's going to share more about their job or their college experience. I encourage you to take the time to go and hear what they have to say. Maybe your high school will sponsor a college or career fair. Take the time to go and talk to different representatives who have booths at the fair, because you might learn about some different career paths that you didn't even know existed. So definitely take advantage of those opportunities. I'd also start thinking about job shadowing, and that might seem a little bit early to you to do as a junior, but if I could go back in high school, I would start doing that throughout junior, senior year, even the summer before I enroll, because it would have put me in a much better place to decide on a major earlier than I did in college. Maybe it's shadowing a parent or guardian or an older sibling or a coach. I encourage you to just kind of have some of those conversations with those people in your life whose jobs that you find interesting, because you might find that it might be a really good fit for you as well. And then just a couple of action items before we move on to the next slide. These are just 3 things that I'd love for you to remember. Introduce yourself to your admissions counselors. We would love to meet you, and we're really, really excited to work with you and your families throughout this next 1.5 years of your college decision process. Number 2, assemble your team. Think about all those people in your life who are going to encourage you, support you, be a great resource for you throughout this next 1.5 years. And then number 3, start to think about some potential careers. You don't by any means have to have it all figured out by the time that you enroll as a freshman. But junior year is a great time to just kind of start thinking about some of those things that bring you joy. And now I will go ahead and kick it over to the next panelist.
All right, I'm back. I'm going to talk a little bit about finding your fit. I think one of the big things you can do junior year is make a list of your priorities. I think the college process is often looked at as this divine intervention where you're going to walk on campus and the clouds are going to part. And sometimes it does work that way. There are students I've met over the last 17 years in recruitment where they set foot on a campus and something clicked. But there are a lot of layers to the college process. There are a lot of things that should factor into your decisions. Do you prefer a small, medium, or large school? Do you prefer close to home or far away? And you don't have to have a preference on each of these things as much as if there is one, you need to know it. So you may say location doesn't matter, or the size of the school doesn't matter, but these things really do. Do you prefer rural or urban campus? You want to make sure the school has your major or the majors you might be interested in. I often tell students it's important to pay attention to what you enjoy. Do they have everything you enjoy, and where you excel? Are there subjects that come easier to you? Are there activities or hobbies that you're really passionate about or are easier for you? Make sure they have those things. The college process is more like a process of elimination. You may visit a really big school and go, okay, that is not for me. And what you've done by doing that is you've cut your college search in half, right? Because you've said, okay, a school of that size is not for me. And then you might visit a school that's 6 hours away from home. That's what it was for me. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. And you might say, that's too far, or that's just right. And then you can start narrowing down the college search. So the priority list is really important because it helps narrow down to the next phase, which is deciding where you're going to apply. So you don't want 30 colleges at that point. You want a smaller list. So using some of these lists of priorities will help you narrow down. The best way to do this is to visit them. Colleges have great virtual visit options, which we'll go over in a little bit. But come with a list of colleges and of all your priorities as you visit, and then allow yourself to start narrowing down your search. We talk a lot about fit, which is the next piece that I'm going to talk about. Establishing what the best fit is. You'll hear this at every college you get a chance to meet or attend a session for. What does it mean? It works 2 ways. Fit means, does the college fit you? Academically, like I mentioned, does it have what you love? Does it have what you're good at? Socially, financial fit is a really big one. A lot of families that I've worked with over the years tend to leave that part for last when it really should move up in the decision process. Having a discussion about what the financial fit is for you, what your financial priorities are as a family or as a student is really important to have early, because that can help you narrow down your college search also. Have that conversation at home. I know it's challenging, but it's an important step in this process. What are your non-negotiables? It's, in any major investment in your life, you want to talk about what for sure do I want? Is the Catholic institution really important to me? Is being in the metro really important to me? Is liberal arts engineering program, whatever it is, pick a few that are your non-negotiables. That'll help you establish what is best fit. And then it's not just, does the college fit you, but how do you fit into the college? I encourage you to think about what you're bringing, because that's really the next step in the application process, is looking at the school and saying, what am I going to bring to this community? What am I going to bring also, so that it can be an exchange of ideas. That's what education is, as you dive in. So fit works both ways. Think about what you're bringing and then what the college is bringing to you. A few notes. When you talk about financial fit, don't rule schools out by sticker price. You should rule schools out by how much they cost. I'm not saying that. We're a private institution. It's expensive. I know, I went here. My wife did too. But wait until you get your financial aid package, until you get your need-based aid package, before you make that decision. Then you should absolutely make your decision based on cost. A few action items, kind of as a takeaway, because we're at a college, we always like to give homework. Visit a variety of different colleges, virtually or in person. They look a little different right now because of COVID-19. And create a list of the colleges you want to before you apply, and then make that list of priorities and non-negotiables as you go into your college search. And then to talk about visiting colleges, I'm going to kick it to Kyla.
Awesome. There we go. Now you can see me. So like Brian mentioned, visiting colleges is really an exciting thing and something I was really looking forward to. So just going to look at different schools is a really great way to experience campus and talk to people and see what the community is like. So like Brian mentioned, there's a ton of virtual ways to do that right now. Some campuses are opening up for in-person visit options as well. So I think it's really important, just if you and your family wanted to sit down and take a closer look at what universities you might be interested in visiting, that'd be a really great way to kind of make use of your time before you start your senior year. I think the summer before senior year is a really great time to get some of those last minute visits in, but while you might have some time off, any breaks or just upcoming days off, I know with virtual learning, it can be a little bit easier to find some time in your schedule to visit colleges. It's a really great way to just really experience campus and take advantage of either in-person visits or virtual tours and appointments as much as possible, no matter where you're looking.
And I'm back. So if we can go 2 slides forward. I'm just gonna talk about kind of our specifically what our visit options are that Kyla just mentioned. We have on-campus information sessions and campus tours going right now. So we limit the amount of people that can come to campus each day so that we've created the safest environment we can. We are in spaced out rooms so that you can meet with the counselor at a good social distance and masked. And then we still would love to walk people around campus as we're able. So we're gonna put a link to our visit registration page in the chat below. So if you would like to set a visit, that's a great next step, is to talk to an admissions counselor, either virtually or on campus, to hear all about your interests. We also have a self-guided tour. There's an app you can download on your phone, Explore St. Thomas app. It's a self-guided tour. So if you have a random day, you want to walk around campus, that can walk you through our buildings and campus to see what might interest you. We have a ton of virtual options. Our whole world has changed since last March, and we've gotten really good at them. So we would love also for you to attend one of our virtual information sessions, virtual personalized visits, use the self-guided tour, and we have more of these webinars, all with different subjects every Tuesday, most Tuesdays during fall. So no matter what it is, we have options every day for you to learn more about St. Thomas. And the further you get on the process, the more personalized we'd like it to be. Don't wait to visit. Set up a one-on-one appointment where we can talk about your interests next. Next, Kyla is going to tell you a little bit about herself and UB also. and then we'll go to Q&A and answer any questions you might have.
Awesome. Like I mentioned earlier, my name's Kyla. I'm from Shakopee, Minnesota, and I went to Prior Lake High School. Those are both kind of like 30 minutes southwest of the Twin Cities area. I'm going to be a senior this year, which is really crazy to say, and it's been a crazy senior year, but I'm really excited to kind of finish up here at St. Thomas. I'm majoring in communications and journalism with a minor in legal studies. I'm on a pre-law track here at St. Thomas, so I'm actually applying for law schools and hopefully going to end up somewhere next year. So I totally understand the stressfulness of looking at schools and applying during COVID craziness. I chose St. Thomas because as a first generation college student, I really wanted to find somewhere where I felt supported and that there was a good community that was really going to welcome me and provide really great resources for me. I'm financing my own education, and I think it was really important to also get my money's worth since college is really expensive, like Brian touched on. So I really wanted to do my research and find somewhere where there were resources for me, where I could go to tutoring hours, talk to professors, job shadowing or internship opportunities, just to really make sure that the college education I was going to be getting was going to be worth it for me. I guess my biggest piece of advice to all you juniors who are watching tonight is to start early, which it sounds like you guys are already doing, and also get organized early on. So for me, something that really helped was creating a document or a Google Drive where you can organize stuff you're using in your application. So like your resume, if you're writing like a essay or something like that. And then also keeping a document together with all of the schools you're looking at and their timelines and deadlines, because that stuff comes up really quickly and it's important to stay on top of it. So I would definitely recommend putting together a Word doc or putting those dates in your calendar. And then if you have a Word doc, something I think is really helpful is every time you go to visit a school, also put your notes in from how you thought that visit went. Your first impression of what you thought the school did really well or something you didn't like as much. So then when you look back and you're deciding what college is going to be the best fit for you, you can use those notes from your visit immediately after you had your visit to help kind of gauge how you really felt about that school. And if you aren't a writer, my brother wasn't, so he took videos of himself after the tour, just telling himself or his future self what he thought the school was like, what he liked about it. So I just really recommend taking good notes for yourself and staying organized throughout the college search process.
Hi everyone. Once again, I am UB Hassan. I am from Hopkins, Minnesota, which is about 25 to 30 minutes away from campus. Went to Hopkins High School, which is almost the same distance. I am a freshman this year, so I just graduated this June. I am majoring in accounting and finance. And one of the things I'm involved in campus is business clubs such as accounting. I'm involved in also like Decker and business competitions, the follow business concept, which is a St. Thomas kind of business that kind of gives grants to students, which is for both start your own businesses or kind of use it as a scholarship grant. I'm also involved in Black empowerment and like Somali Students Association. So those are like kind of things that I kind of do around campus. One of the things why I chose specifically St. Thomas is because I'm a business major and St. Thomas was one of the best business schools in Minnesota. And I was also kind of looking forward to specifically how can, like what institution kind of helps me specifically kind of improve on my businesses and my brands. I have my own business and I was kind of looking for what resources can actually help me succeed in that. St. Thomas kind of has that specifically that I was looking for compared to other businesses and I mean, other institutions such as like they have like a department that kind of works with small business development, and that was really helpful right now that I'm actually part of St. Thomas. Another thing that kind of why I kind of chose St. Thomas was apart from like my my academic excellence and stuff like that, they also like kind of valued other than like school. And like I mean, St. Thomas is really expensive, but then also like there are also a lot of financial aid that comes with it. So that's why, like, I think somebody said that do not make your decision just because based on the financial. Just first of all, after you receive your financial aid, and that's when kind of make that decision. For me, as somebody who cannot like really pay 60,000 a year, that was really helpful. And like the scholarships that I kind of really helped me. And one of the things that I would like to kind of tell, like one piece of advice would be like keeping in contact with your admission counselor. That was one of the most helpful things for me, especially because I kind of really developed a personal relationship with my academic counselor, and she would actually reply the same day that I actually sent the emails, and was really helpful in filling out almost all my questions, basically.
All right, we are going to dive into questions. I can see that some have been asked in the chat, and one of our team members, Thomas, has been answering those as they go. One of the questions we got ahead of time from registration was about how many colleges you should apply to. Does one of the admissions staff or a couple of you want to talk about that? It's a question we get asked a lot, and I think families hear a lot of different answers. So what's the right number of colleges to apply to, or is there one? It's a trick question.
I can take that. So the answer is going to vary for everyone, honestly. You know, as far as what's right for you, just make sure that when you're going into this search process that you're looking at colleges that are large, medium size, small size, that are in rural areas or in the city or in residential areas, and compile your list that works for you. So if that means that you found 5 colleges that you could really see yourself at, cool, apply to those 5 schools. If that means 10, you know, go for it and apply to 10. I probably wouldn't recommend anything over 10 just because you're already going to be stressed out with senior year, and the college process is a little overwhelming just because it's a lot of work. So I would say that anywhere between 5 to 10 is good. And even if it's less than that, like if you have 3 schools that you for sure could see yourself at, like that's good too. So I guess the short answer is that it really varies based on whatever it is you're looking for.
So the answer is there's no answer. I mean, it really is. We have students who apply to one college. That probably wouldn't be what we'd advise, but they do it and it works fine. I don't know. How many colleges did you all apply to? UB, how many did you apply to?
I applied to actually a lot of colleges. I actually applied to 16 different colleges. So then I ended up with St. Thomas, so go figure it.
Oh, see, it doesn't matter how many you apply to. You end up in purple. Perfect. Thank you.
Looks like you're muted, Brian.
Sorry, I'm going to go to the chat, the Q&A here for a question. There was one about how many years foreign language are required at St. Thomas. Mariah, do you want to talk a little bit about our foreign language requirement?
Yeah, you got it. So St. Thomas is a liberal arts school. So that means in addition to all of your major classes, we're also going to ask you to take a set of core curriculum classes just so you're graduating with a very well-rounded education. So that all being said, we do require that students take 2 units of a foreign language at the very most, but we will have you take a placement exam, a foreign language placement exam before you would enroll. So the most units that you would take of a foreign language is 2. If you test out of the requirement, then you wouldn't be required to take any.
Perfect, thank you. Let's go to one more from the chat. Does somebody want to talk briefly about music majors? There was a question about harp, which we have music as a major. I don't know specifically offhand if we have one for harp. Does anyone want to mention a little bit about music majors?
Yeah, so you know, there are a lot of different routes that you can take within the music major, whether it's like music education or like vocal performance and stuff like that. So I definitely encourage you to kind of go on our website and check out the different opportunities within music, within specifically, what uh, what area of music that you'd want to study. And on top of that, there are different like ensembles, so that students can kind of audition for, whether you're interested in playing an instrument in an ensemble or auditioning for choir. So I would say definitely go on our website, see if there's any, thing that you could audition for with the harp. I'm not too sure at the moment, but definitely go on our website and kind of do a little more research on that.
And there was a follow-up question. If a student takes foreign language, let's see, if I do take a foreign language, it becomes a requirement to take a placement exam for it. It depends. If a student has AP or if they're coming in with college credit, they may not have to take a placement exam, but most students take a placement exam. So I had 3 years of Spanish in high school. I took the placement exam and placed into the 3rd level of Spanish in college. So it's a placement exam not to give you credit, but to put you into the right level of your foreign language class. So one of the questions I like to ask students is, what would, for Kyla and Yubi, what would you tell yourself junior year? If you could. Now, being these wise, experienced college students, what would you have told yourself junior year that would have helped you through the college search process?
I would probably tell myself to get a move on it. I'd get off my phone, I'd start making a plan, and I wish I would have started a little bit earlier and asked more questions earlier on. I feel like I just kind of thought it would be a lot easier and everything would just kind of be laid out for me. But you really have to take some initiative, and it was the first time I kind of had really experienced that, was that I had to kind of make the first move or take the first step. And so stop procrastinating and just go get your questions answered. Your parents aren't going to be able to ask all your questions for you all the time. So I had to really just take initiative and kind of start things on my own. So it's scary, but you have to do it eventually. So I would tell my past self that.
Another thing I would like to add is that don't be me who just applied basically in January, about to graduate. Kind of start the process as early as possible, because that kind of helps you plan out exactly what colleges you're kind of looking at, and also kind of have a list of the colleges that you want to get in. Then also have a college that you actually know that you're going to get in no matter what the requirements are. You're kind of sure about it. So have a rich a college that you can aim for, you really want to get into it, but then there's some requirements that you don't really meet. So kind of have that, and then have a college that you're 100% positive that you could get in if you apply to. So that's another thing. And then another thing is that trying to figure out your financial aid is one of the best things. Start doing that as early as possible. Once you figure out the process and kind of ask somebody to help you with it, you will be set for college.
I think that's really good advice. And I'll emphasize what I said before. I think financial aid oftentimes is one of the last things that students want to consider, because it's sometimes the least fun, because it's more fun to talk about, whether or not there's an ultimate Frisbee team or what the food is like. But cost is so big that it's really important to have that early on. It helps the process go along. So we'll do a few more questions here, and then I have instructions before 5 o'clock. We do have breakout rooms available via Zoom at 5 o'clock. So if you'd like to, and they're all current students. So if you'd like to chat with a current student and ask them any questions, and not any of us old professionals, if you want to meet real students like Kyla and Yubi, we do have a Zoom room after that you can join them. But we'll take some time to answer a few more questions here. We had a question about generals as classes. Do you have to take all your generals first and then your major courses? And Mariah, do you want to talk about kind of how our course planning goes in liberal arts?
Absolutely. So liberal arts, when I was in your shoes a whole bunch of years ago and someone was telling me about the core classes I was going to need to take, I was honestly like not jumping for joy at the thought of taking them. But as an alum, I can really appreciate them because I graduated with a solid education, and it's designed to help you think critically and problem solve and become a really strong writer and a strong communicator. And a lot of those really important skills are developed in some of those general courses. So we're going to ask you to take like a math, science, social analysis, theology, philosophy, foreign language. So you'll take a little bit of everything. Your very first semester of freshman year is usually 4 core curriculum generals courses. If by halfway through freshman year, you have a really good idea of what you'd like to major in, you can declare your major as early as halfway through freshman year and start hopping into some of those major classes. Otherwise, if you need a little extra time to discern what major is a good fit, you do have all the way until halfway through sophomore year to decide what you'd like to major in. So if you did wait to declare your major until sophomore year, a lot of those first 3 semesters of college would mainly be core curriculum classes. But you do have from freshman year all the way until senior year to knock out all of those core requirements. So you do not need to complete them all before starting your major classes. I know a lot of my freshman year, when I was in college, was a lot of core curriculum. Sophomore year, it was pretty evenly split between core classes and major classes. And then junior and senior year, there was kind of a tilt to more major classes and then a couple of general classes. Great question.
And I think Yubi wanted to talk a little bit about kind of after school activities and things like that, just when they're not in class.
Yeah, so like if you're not necessarily in class, there's so many things you could be doing on campus, such as like after school activities. And so sports is one of the things that people could really get involved in. If, as you kind of know, like St. Thomas is a D1 school this year, so like not everybody can play D1. But then like there are also like intermediate clubs that you can actually be part of, which are really more interesting than the actual like athletic teams that are at school. So personally, I play soccer, and so we kind of do that most of the afternoons, which is like really kind of a great thing at St. Thomas. And like we kind of have like our own field that we kind of play at. And also apart from that, they're like after school, not necessarily sports clubs, but then like regular clubs. For me, I'm part of like the investment club, and I'm also part of like the accounting club, which kind of like hosts like panels of how to kind of apply for internships and how to nail an interview and how to do like resumes and all that stuff, which kind of is really helpful for us like who are just kind of like getting started with college and all that stuff. And then another thing is that what students kind of do after is basically like just kind of hang out. There's like, we have a game room on my floor. I live in Tommie North. We just go to the game room and play a couple of video games. And then we kind of have like, we have study rooms that we can just kind of like watch live games. If like there's a sports that's going on, I think there's like, there's something that you could always watch and do at school after classes, basically.
There's a question here. It's specifically about homeschooling and letters of recommendation. Does somebody want to talk, or maybe I can talk about letters of recommendation. We read a lot of them. The most important thing, I think the best letters of recommendation, it doesn't matter what type of school experience you've had, the best types of letters of recommendation are additive to what's on your application. So when a student has just done awesome in math and they have straight A's in all these really high math classes, and then I read a letter of recommendation from their math teacher that says, Brian did awesome in math, which my math teacher did not say probably in high school. But that's just an example. If they said, Brian was awesome in math, I already know that as a reviewer. So when I'm trying to construct this student's readiness and their drive and motivation, that doesn't necessarily add to their application. What the best letter of recommendation looks like is maybe I struggled in my English class. Maybe there's one, maybe a committee is going to look at my application. They're going to go, what happened junior year in this English class? It stands out. That is not, something happened there. The best letter of recommendation fills that gap in. So it says, you know, I was Brian's English teacher and he really struggled in this class, but here's what he did. And kind of fills in that gap. So those are the best letters of recommendation. They don't both have to be academic by any means. We really like when someone can talk about a person's character, church, employer, family friend, alumni, community member, mentor, all those things are relevant letters of recommendation. So there aren't specific rules. It doesn't just have to be about academic preparedness. It should be additive. Think about that thing that the committee might not know. Think about the biggest question they're going to have from your application, and that's the type of thing your letters of recommendation and your essay should fill in. We have gotten a couple questions about engineering, which we love talking about. And I think, Abby, do you want to kind of jump in on for some engineering answers?
Yeah, for sure. So I believe someone in the chat asked if we have architecture as well as civil engineering. So we don't have any architecture major at St. Thomas, but we do have a very strong and robust engineering program that offers mechanical engineering, computer engineering, electrical engineering, and civil engineering. So, we kind of stand out from the crowd, I feel, because we're a liberal arts school that offers such a technical degree in all those different engineering concentrations. So the nice thing is you can take advantage of the liberal arts curriculum while learning your engineering stuff. And you still get the small class sizes. It's very hands-on. One cool note that I always like hearing about the engineering program is once you're in your senior year, you can do something called senior design, where you're in a group with other engineering students and you get assigned a project to work on for the semester by a local company. And then at the end of the semester, you get to present that project to that company. So it's a nice way to kind of get some real life, real world experience on your resume. So yeah, our engineering programs are very hands-on, and it's our fastest growing major at St. Thomas.
All right, we're going to quick answer these last two that are in there. St. Thomas does have psychology. It's one of our largest programs on campus. All sorts of ways students can do research and labs within psychology program. And I'm going to kick to Kyla because I know she has the answer, but how is the St. Thomas Law Program? And I don't know if you can comment on political science too, but.
Yeah, for sure. So you'll find when looking, I knew I was interested in pre-law. Most colleges don't have a specific like pre-law major, which I think is really great because then you can really pick something you're really interested in, focus on that. So you can be pre-law with any major, but political science and communications or psychology tend to be more popular choices if you're going the pre-law route. At St. Thomas, you have a pre-law advisor. He's really great and he talks to prospective students all the time. His name's Dr. Gold. So if you have any questions, we can get you in touch with him. But it's a really like good relationship with the advisor because they really help get you ready for law school and make sure you're getting all your stuff ready. And then you can also, there's a minor in legal studies and now a new minor in legal skills. And I'm a legal studies minor, and that helps me pick classes from different concentrations. So I take some business law classes, I take political science classes, which have all been really great and interesting to help kind of get a robust education of the legal system before I enter in law school starting next year. So I've been really pleased with it, as well as like student clubs like Pre-Law Society and Mock Trial. I've been involved with those since my freshman year, and both of those have also been really helpful to prepare me for law school next year.
All right, out of our time is up, 4:59. We really, really appreciate this time. Honestly, we love this stuff. It may not seem like being on Zoom on a evening is that fun, but we love this stuff. The most important thing to remember, I said at the beginning, is there is a team of people to help you walk through it, including all of us. So don't walk through the college application process alone. Please follow up with us. We're going to pull up some contact information right now onto the big screen. And we are also going to copy a link into the chat function where you can join another Zoom room to talk to current students. So if you'd like to just chit chat and ask any questions you still might have, or hear from current students, we would be, they would be happy to chat with you. I'm not a current student anymore. So please go ahead and click on the link in the chat if you'd like to talk to any of them. And you can use this contact information to find out who your admissions counselor is, or just to ask any additional questions you think of after we all hang up here. We are happy to help. Remember, you're on track. You're doing a great job in the college search because you're engaging now. And we hope that your families and the people you love and care about are doing well. And we can't wait to work with you through the college process. So we look forward to seeing you. And please let us know how we can help. Thanks for joining us tonight.